fallen leaves. You know, fuck it. I messed up that note, that last note. I'm not continuing after that. I did not have enough time to practice this. Fuck. Welcome to the Two Schmoes Show. I'm Mr. Ryan, and I'm a Schmo.
I'm Cairo, and I'm a Schmo.
And, yeah. We're back.
Long break.
Yeah, Cairo had to go get lost in the woods.
Yeah, made some animal friends.
I wanted to do like a censored version of the one you sent me of the squirrel that went on your head.
Yeah. It's kind of sad, honestly. Like, it was obviously kind of cool, but just the fact that someplace as what should be as remote as that was, because that's up like in the Rocky Mountains, right? That's like a 2-mile hike into the mountains and back. And it's not the most difficult, but there's a lot of people who physically wouldn't be able to do that. And it's just still so well traveled that the animals are fine literally jumping on your lap to try and get your food.
So they're basically domesticated, is what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I don't know. Where exactly did you go up there? Like, I know you said the Rockies, but like, where in the Rockies?
Yeah, so we were in literally the Rocky Mountain National Park. It is in Colorado, of course. Let's see if I can get it up here. It's a pretty large area, and to their credit, obviously there's certain parts that are much more heavily traveled than others. The vast majority of it is pretty much inaccessible. And I don't think there's anything that like stops you like legally from just going wherever you want to off of the trails for the most part, other than some of the like tundra areas are off limits because they're protected lands. But in the forested areas, at least, you can just kind of go wherever you want, but most people tend not to. So we were up there for the full week before this last week, and did a lot of the trails. Saw as much of the local, wildlife kind of stuff as we could. That was the main point of it, was just to see the national park. It was very cool. Obviously saw a little chipmunk that decided to jump on top of my hat. One of the cooler ones that we actually saw is a place that's relatively inaccessible, and that was kind of interesting to see how inaccessible it was, just because that sort of helped filter out a lot of the traffic. You had to drive up like an hour and a half down a pretty steep dirt road, and there's a place called Marmot Point that you'll be shocked to learn has marmots at it.
No way.
Yeah, but it was really cool because we had gone on a couple of other hikes in sort of like the area around that and hoped to have seen marmots, but either because the weather was poor or they just aren't in those areas, we didn't see any. So we were trying to think about, where can we stop on this other trail where we're going to go down, and found this place called Marmot Point, and they were just all over the damn place. So it was pretty cool. Just a big hill, right? And they have their burrows in it.
They burrow.
Mm-hmm. Definitely recommend it. It was a good time.
You know what was not a good time?
What's that?
The presidential debate for Donnie.
Yeah. It was 3-on-1, though.
No, it was not. It was more like 2-on-1. One of those moderators was perfectly fine and content with just watching the other one just dog on him.
I think it is hilarious that the right-wing spin has been so much on that. Well, it was 3 versus 1 bullshit, when Trump literally had an interview, I believe with CNN, that was 3-on-1. You remember that?
Oh,
about 2 years ago, I think it was. There's some puff piece bullshit interview that CNN did where they literally had 3 of their like journalist moderator types all queue up questions one at a time.
I think I remember that vaguely. Like, I remember hearing about it because at the time I was working, because pandemic and working at a grocery store sucks.
there's been some pretty memeable pictures that have come out of it.
Did he have a concept of a plan back then?
I don't even think he had a concept at that point, which is pretty. God, I kind of forgotten that we hadn't gone over that yet. Yeah, there's so much that came out of that is just like, what the fuck is going on?
Dude, it was. I felt bad for him, like, partway through. It's just kind of humiliating, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I don't think I would say I feel bad. Because, you know, he's put himself voluntarily in the position entirely.
I mean, yeah, fuck him, but you know what I mean? Like, I want to be nice. I want to be nicer than him, but I agree with your position entirely.
Yeah, it was incredibly damning, and that that moment pretty well encapsulated the entirety of the Republican Party's kind of as a whole, their strategy lately. Just like, okay, you don't like Obamacare / Medicaid, you want to get rid of it. What's your alternative? You don't want to have nothing. You've said that. What is your plan? Well, you don't have a plan. You've been president for 4 years. You've been a presidential candidate for another 4 years. And before you were the president, you were also a candidate. And you still don't have a plan for what you want to replace it with. Like, the bar is through the floor, and they are still tripping over it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's... I don't know what much needs to be said, right? What is your plan? We don't have a plan. We have concepts of a plan, and you don't even say what those, like, assuming in good faith that you actually have concepts of a plan, even though you clearly don't. You can't even say what those are. You can't even, like, broad strokes this shit.
He's got a project, right? It's some kind of 2025 project. That's his concept of a plan, don't you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It is very strange, very, you could say weird, how much it has been, maybe not much isn't the right word, but how many members of the Republican Party are being found to have, you know, animal abuse sort of in their pasts. We obviously had the one, was it Wyoming governor? Whoever the hell it was, I don't remember. And I don't really care, who basically bragged about killing her dog. This week we had the Project 2025 guy who was found to have what was it? Project 2025 mastermind allegedly told colleagues he killed a dog with a shovel.
Oh yeah. What is up with these
Kevin
fuckers?
Roberts.
Why do they need to kill dogs with a shovel? Like, what's with all these right-winged figures just killing dogs?
Quote from Kenneth Hammond, my recollection of his account was that he was discussing in the hallway with various members of the faculty, including me, that a neighbor's dog had been barking pretty relentlessly and was, you know, keeping the baby and probably the parents awake, and that he kind of lost it and took a shovel and killed the dog. End of problem. So much in there that is so fucked up. Like, the fact that that is an anecdote that this piece of shit was willing to share in the first place to anybody is despicable to start with. But the fact that somebody could be recounting that anecdote and not have it be overtly negative, just unbelievable. Oh, thank God. We'll talk about this later, but at least somebody did some amount of journalism. Somebody at the Guardian actually went and looked it up, and they have a picture here of Loca, a female pit bull that belonged to Robert's neighbors in La Cruces, New Mexico. Loca's owners say she went missing in 2004, the year that Roberts is alleged to have killed his neighbor's dog. What do you know?
Goddamn. So, like, I'm just curious, right? Because we're this far into the election cycle, and there's been a lot of dogs killed already. In fact, there's been some bears killed. There's been a whale killed.
A whale beheaded.
A whale has been.
And
This election
apparently, not just a whale beheading, a federal investigation over a whale beheading.
And it's all the same side.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is even
Yeah,
like.
and
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it all ties back to the same thing, which is just a explicit disregard for the values of anything that isn't themselves.
You know, I like the way you phrase that, because it quite literally is. Because like that's like how their whole platform is built too.
Yep. Making somebody else hurt more than you're hurting. While we're on RFK Jr., it has been very funny to see him completely fail to get his name removed from the ballots in close battleground states. Because, like, I think this is going to put some scrutiny on a lot of state election structures with how easily it is for these, spoiler type candidates to find their ways onto the ballots, because Kennedy mathematically cannot win the presidential election, right?
Yeah.
And while I can appreciate that to a certain degree, you don't want to immediately disqualify somebody from being on ballots just because they can't actually win the election, it does seem very strange that there's not mechanisms in place to allow somebody who both doesn't want to participate in the election and is mathematically not able to be elected even if they wanted to, run. It's a weird spot to have our systems of elections being put into.
Yes.
But on the other hand, fuck RFK Jr. for trying to be a spoiler and only putting his name on the ballots in states where they thought they'd pull Democrat votes, and it completely backfiring.
Dude, it's been so funny seeing those like news reports come in that the like Supreme Court of yada yada state have issued that RFK is ineligible from pulling his name from registers.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful shit.
The big news of this week, though, unfortunately, requires us to talk about the Middle East.
Oh. That's my least favorite East.
Israel has escalated their military activities. Obviously, they have continued to... they've just continued their military activities in Gaza. That hasn't changed. But notably, the escalations have come as Israel has extended their military campaigns to Lebanon, which makes some amount of sense given its proximity to Israel, but more surprisingly to Yemen, which is quite a ways away.
That is quite a ways away. Geography.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know how far we want to actually talk about this, because, I don't know. Obviously, the Houthi terrorists are horrible. And
yes.
Efforts to dispose of them are not at all unwanted. But it is very difficult to see the Israeli military's activities in Gaza and how mixed the actual results have been, and not question how effective they will be in other operations. I think that's as diplomatically as I can say it.
I think you did pretty well there, though.
Mm-hmm. I also have to wonder, and I do get why they obviously haven't, because of geopolitics and, the whole... I think at some level, at least, Netanyahu probably doesn't want to start World War III unless it's an election year, and then he absolutely will. But Yemen is very far away from Israel. A lot further away than Iran is. And I have to wonder why they haven't, if they are willing to turn this into an explicit, multinational thing, right? Like, there's territory and border disputes all along the Golan Heights through the Mediterranean there, where Israel, Gaza, and Lebanon are. But Yemen is explicitly a separate country. And it's not a secret that the vast majority of the financial backing for these terrorist groups has a tie in some degree to the Iranian government. And Israel hasn't been hesitant to actually try some more subtle military activities within Iran. I believe there was a Houthi general who was killed there in like June or July of this year. I don't know if Israel explicitly took credit for it, but they certainly haven't denied claims that it was carried out as part of their activities. And it seems like a bit of beating around the bush,
Yeah.
Like, where this stuff's coming from. So, I'm not sure. That aspect of it falls very much in line with the pattern that we've seen from Netanyahu in the past of trying to extend these military campaigns for as long as possible in order for him to maintain his position of power.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know what I don't like about Netanyahu?
What's that?
A lot
Besides
of
the
things.
obvious.
Besides the obvious. But this guy, right, he's... I think I should shut my mouth before I say something that's going to get me hit in the face. But, like, I agree with you. He is very much someone who is trying desperately to hang on to what he has.
Yep.
But honestly, if I had what he had, I feel like I would not. Like, who wants what he has? Like, do you get what I mean? It's not...
It's without question, it's some sort of like psychopathy, like some mental instability that at like a psychological level prevents him from being able to relinquish even like the semblance of the power he's already retained, the authority that he has as prime minister.
The concept of the power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I just... Israel is not that big in the world scope. Like, what attaches so much authority to Israel is, like, what others think of it. It doesn't have so much of
It's highly symbolic.
Exactly. And I just don't understand why this man is so obsessed with it.
Mm-hmm.
But, it could also just be he's power tripping so hard because he's got fucking life and death on his command.
Yeah. It is the entire thing is a very old conflict that has never actually been stable since it started.
Yeah.
I have a book that I'm actually reading through right now called The Holocaust and the Nakba. That's very interesting. That I'm trying to understand like the actual history of this more, because it is so old. It's been happening for generations and decades. We're World War II, the anniversary of World War II is not that far away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 15 years from the start of it. And it wasn't that long after its conclusion that Israel was formed kind of as a mandate of the Western European powers. And pretty much right after that, it has been, problem after problem, just like all of the rest of the Western meddling in the Middle East from that era.
Correct. Isn't it? Would you? I hate to say this because again, I'm not attacking any way specific as much as I'm just talking about ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Would you describe Israel just like as a colony?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
They're definitely a nation, right?
Yeah.
It is just the way that it was founded is incredibly atypical compared to the way that a nation typically is founded.
Fair. Okay. Because that's an idea I've been struggling with a lot, like recently, is the idea of like it is a very westernized location, and like I could be speaking out my ass right here, but everything I've seen about Israel from it is just, I always feel like it is very westernized compared to everything else based off like stuff I see. So I
Definitely.
always found that interesting about where it stands and the culture inside of it and how that influences its point and where it is in all of its conflicts.
Definitely. As a bit of an aside as well, it is very sad to see how Iran has fallen in with their role in the Middle East and just in general. I don't know if you've seen the movie Argo.
I don't believe I have.
Good movie. It's like a solid 8 out of 10 kind of thing. Good performances. The plot is, kind of so-so, but it's based on real events from the Iran Contra situation. But it is always been fascinating to me to see, images from Iran in like the 50s and the 60s, and how, for lack of a better word, westernized their people and their government were becoming, and just how dramatically and quickly they slid into the position that they've stuck in to this day of, ayatollahs and, religious ethno-state type shit.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Man, remember how we started this off by making fun of Donnie's performance at the presidential election?
Yeah.
Such a heavy shit.
In some other news, New York Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted on multiple federal corruption charges this week.
Wahoo! Another corrupt New York mayor. Who would have thought about it?
They're literally a dime a dozen, it feels like. Like, what the hell?
Hey, speaking of dime a dozen corrupt mayors, a certain corrupt mayor just got disbarred, too.
We'll get to that one for sure. But yeah, Adams has been indicted by, I believe it was the Department of Justice.
I think it was.
Yeah, it's not actually said here, but for seeking and accepting benefits such as free luxury travel and campaign donations from foreigners, particularly Turkish officials, according to a 57-page, 15,000-word indictment that covers activities between 2016 and 2023. 2017, Adams allegedly accepted free business class tickets for 3 round-trip international flights and a heavily discounted stay at a suite in the St. Regis, Istanbul. The trip was worth $41,000, and Adams did not disclose it. Adams then allegedly accepted over $123,000 worth of luxury travel benefits from 2016 to 2021. By 2018, the mayor allegedly not only accepted but sought illegal campaign contributions for his 2021 mayoral campaign, as well as other things of value from foreign nationals. And by January of 2022, he had agreed to accept contributions of foreign money to his 2025 campaign.
God damn.
It is pretty fucking bad. I'm curious. I believe. Let me see if I can find this. Wait, wasn't it Cuomo who resigned once the allegations came out about him?
Yeah, it was Cuomo. And then didn't it go right to Eric?
I'm not sure.
I think he had an assistant that actually took over, and then it was Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought Adams only took over this year. Yeah. So who was the previous mayor of New York? List of mayors, New York City. Wow, that goes back a long ways. I guess it's not that surprising, but it is kind of shocking to see that the first mayor of New York started their term in 1665.
Really?
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's like before the country.
Yeah, it's literally categorized on Wikipedia as the colonial mayors.
Oh my god. The idea of New York existing for the US is just blowing my mind right now. Because, of course, it makes sense. Because it's
Yeah.
like, this was almost our nation's capital, but, like, what the fuck? New York always reminds me of, like, this. New York in, like, the rest of the country always reminds me of, like, the situation we have in Michigan of, like, Detroit and the rest of the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, where like the population is so imbalanced that anybody who becomes like the mayor of that city in particular is basically kind of like king of all mayors for that area, king or queen. You know what I mean. Just like the political difference in just those cities compared to the rest of like their areas, so different.
So I figured out where I was getting mixed up. Cuomo was the governor of New York State.
Oh,
Kathy Hochul is currently the governor.
that makes
Adams
sense.
has been the mayor since 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I was getting mixed up. But yeah, it's bad.
It's
We'll have
bad.
to obviously wait and see how it turns out, and it'll probably take a very long time for it to get worked through. But the allegations are extensive, to say the least. Pull that up before I forget later. All right. As a quick aside, well, it's a good pausing break. I looked this up, and I wanted to have this as a reminder. The vice presidential debate is this Tuesday at 9 p.m.
Oh my god.
So that'll be a bloodbath worth tuning into, I think.
What do you think it's gonna be like?
I think it's going to be really awkward.
Yeah. I think, and this is no dig at Tim Walz, he's going to be coming cocky. I think he's going to come in super cocky because JD Vance has no social skills.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I just, I don't think JD stands a chance, but I don't think Tim can pull his punches enough to not make himself look like an ass. I'm worried about the exact moment where he makes a dig about the couch, because I know it's coming.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't. I think I have to hope that they'll prepare everything enough that just that kind of situation won't be allowed to come up,
Yeah,
because that would be, just not a good look. Just shit on him, like, empirically, right?
yeah. You can't go ad hominem in this case.
Right. You just don't need to.
Mm-hmm. He sucks enough as it is. Oh yeah, the dossier, the Trump team dossier on JD Vance got leaked too.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta be careful. You're gonna get banned from Twitter if you say it too loud.
I'm sorry, this is my old mic. I can't buff it like I used to. I can't do the robot voice. I look forward to reading the dossier on not Tim Walz, JD Vance.
Mm-hmm. It's available to read now. Only 6 megabytes.
Only 6 megabytes.
Mm-hmm.
I love text files.
I'm going to read a bit here from Ken Klippenstein's website where it was posted. It says, it reportedly comes from an alleged Iranian government hack of the Trump campaign, and since June, the news media has been sitting on it and other documents, declining to publish in fear of finding itself at odds with the government's campaign against foreign malign influence. I disagree. The dossier has been offered to me, and I've decided to publish it because it's of keen public interest in an election season. It's a 271-page research paper the Trump campaign prepared to vet now vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance. As far as I can tell, it hasn't been altered, but even if it was, its contents are publicly verifiable. I will let it speak for itself.
Good shit. Good shit.
Mm-hmm.
Good answer.
Very good answer. But bastion of free speech Elon Musk took it as the chance to ban Ken Klippenstein from Twitter for like doxing, I think is what they said, which was obviously ridiculous. But that's never stopped Elon, right?
Hey, it's Elon's definition. We're all just living in it.
I don't know if I sent it to you. There's a good meme I saw this week on Twitter about Twitter that was like, Twitter has lost 80% of its traffic since Elon took over. So if you're still here, you are a true sicko, addicted to the post, can't log off. And it has a picture of Eustace from Courage the Cowardly Dog placed in like the end of Evangelion setting, and it just says, "No, sir, not getting out of this chair."
If I believed in tattoos, I would get that.
It's very good.
That is really fucking good.
Yeah, that's largely my thought on it. It's just like, I've been here for so long, I'm gonna ride this shit show out until it completely collapses or it becomes unusable otherwise.
So my opinion with Twitter nowadays is like, me being there and not paying for verified is actively losing Elon money because I'm not clicking on the advertisements. So it's like, I'm just there to make the broadband go up.
I'm curious, have you noticed how the advertisements have started to change lately?
How so? 'Cause I've seen one thing, but I don't know if they're the same thing everybody else is seeing.
What I've started to notice is that the advertisements themselves are the same, extremely cheap, low effort kind of crap that you would have already seen before.
Yeah.
But it does seem like something has changed. Let me see if I can find an example of this what I'm talking about, because I bet I can. It seems like something has changed within like the back end of Twitter where it decides like what advertisement it's going to show on what thing, and it seems to be picking up on more broader, like, I don't know what you want to call it, broad keywords, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing something completely different, but yeah.
I'm scrolling on my computer here, just like, why isn't it showing me any ads? Like, I don't have a fucking ad blocker on. Give me a sec.
Humble brag.
Yeah, so for literally the first one I'm finding here, somebody posted some art of Kitty Pryde from the X-Men that they did. And the first ad is some ad for like Fallout stuff, right? It's not completely nonsensically attached, There's something trying to connect together. So here's another one. This is something that I've been seeing a lot. Musician I follow posted a video or a link to one of their videos on YouTube. First advertisement is a link to somebody else's video on YouTube.
What the fuck? Okay.
And notably, it's also a music video. So it's stuff like that, where it's just like, oh, you want to advertise your music video? We'll put it underneath somebody else's music video that they're actually trying to show to their fans, and accidentally people will probably click on it.
I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
It's like a content.
The other thing that I've seen is that the advertisers have started, and I've seen other people mention this as well, rather than just putting an ad there, they try to format it to look like it is actually a reply that could exist underneath the thing that it's under. So it's not phrased like, this is an ad, it's some generic thing like to tie it in with something else, and then it gets into the ad. Stuff like that. Very weird.
It's weird. They're desperate.
They are. And that's the other part of it, is that it is super low effort in terms of like a computational kind of thing, right? You don't have to have supercomputers running to have music video. Put the music video ad on it, kind of thing.
Yeah. I've seen one where I will pull up a thread, and when I'm pulling up a thread, they'll start putting ads like in between the thread itself. Mm-hmm. So like you said, like the reply segment.
All right. So you mentioned this next story here.
Uh-oh.
Rudy Giuliani has officially been disbarred in now D.C. as well as New York.
Active coffee tycoon Rudy Giuliani was a lawyer?
Yeah. I'm curious how old the picture on this MSNBC article is. I assume not very, but Rudy looks like hell right now.
Doesn't he, though?
Apparently, his financial woes are stopping him from buying all of his fancy makeup.
Makes you wonder how much he buys for his face.
I'm sure it's a lot. I would not be surprised if prior to him basically going bankrupt, he actually hired a stylist that he would go to regularly.
Oh, I'm almost certain. I wonder who those stylists are. Like the real fancy people who make people look like they're, celebrities.
Human.
Yeah. There you go.
In other good news, the judge overseeing one of Alex Jones's many cases has approved auctions liquidations for InfoWars.
Can we buy something off that liquidation?
Let me see if I can find a link to it. It's a couple of days old now, so it might all be done.
Damn.
But it could also be the case that it hasn't actually gone up yet, since they only just said that it can start to be liquidated. But I guess it would probably also happen through, I guess it'd be Texas government websites, maybe? Starting in November.
So,
Jesus, this is scummy as hell. Despite the pending loss of his company, Jones vows to continue his talk shows through other means, possibly including a new website and his personal social media accounts. He has also suggested that InfoWars assets could be bought by his supporters, allowing him to continue hosting his show as an employee under the InfoWars brand.
No, dude, I just want to buy his microphone so we can talk shit on him on this microphone he used to spit on.
We'll have to keep an eye out for it. I would be very interested in seeing if we could get some sort of, I'm going to call it memorabilia.
Yeah, because I think it'd be funny as hell to do this show with Alex Jones' former equipment.
I'd love to get
yeah.
I'd love to get one of his microphones and put it in a glass box like a trophy, just like a we won kind of thing.
Get a mantle and put it over your fucking fireplace.
Yeah.
I would love that. Alex, I know you're listening. If you can get us early access, I'd really appreciate it.
The sell-off Lopez intends to provide would put InfoWars intellectual property on sale for up for auction on November 13th, including its trademarks, copyrighted material, social media accounts, and websites.
Oh, you can get the intellectual property.
Yeah, I don't think we can afford that.
I don't know, dude. If we could change this to the InfoWars Schmoes show.
The trustee overseeing Jones' bankruptcy case, Christopher Murray, said Tuesday that he may soon seek court permission to also liquidate Jones' personal social media accounts and others. So still intellectual property. I don't care about the intellectual property, damn it. I want to buy a soundboard. That'd be sick. Should probably get on a good deal, too. That shit's expensive.
Dude, imagine they're liquidating all of his assets.
I found it. The rest of InfoWars assets, including computers, video cameras, and other studio equipment, will be sold on a different auction December 10th. There we go. That's what we got to keep an eye out for.
Okay, set an alarm.
December 10th.
No, set it for December 9th, and then another one on December 10th. We're doing this.
No, we'll definitely be following up with that before then to see if we can find out the details, because, I mean, that's very dumb, but I would legitimately be amused to see what would happen there. What actually goes up for auction.
I am very curious. We should do a special for that one. Okay. Fuck, I was going to make a joke, but I forgot what I was going to say. Don't you hate that? Oh, we need to buy the intellectual rights to InfoWars and just put it in the public domain.
That would be good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I guess, though, alternatively, that would just give Jones access back to it again.
Yes, but what's the point in having access to it if everybody else has access?
So, what we do, I gotta figure out what I don't remember what it's called. Do you know Vanta Black?
Oh yeah, I do know about Vanta Black.
Where they tried the guy who owns it licensed it for ridiculous prices.
Yeah.
So somebody else made their own one, and they gave it for extremely reduced price.
We need to do something like that. You're right.
This is for everybody except for the guy who makes Vanta Black.
Yes, because he's already got Vanta Black.
So we do that where anybody can use InfoWars except for Alex Jones. Alex Jones has to pay, what would it be, about $1.5 billion? I think that sounds like the right number.
He's got to pay half his net worth.
Oh, that's zero. That doesn't count.
Damn it.
Dude's
You're
broke.
right. You're right. I'm just thinking we could just set up that kind of license for anybody so alt-right figureheads just pay us half their net worth.
Yeah.
But only for the alt-right. The alt-right premium privilege. You know what I mean?
All right. What else? Oh, so follow-up thing I mentioned. Bit of stock market activity.
Oh, yes.
Trump Media and Technology Group went on the public market this week on September 21st. There was a clause built in to Trump's shares of the stock where if the stock dropped, I believe the number was below $12 by the 21st, it would cause basically an additional 1 week freeze to assess the health of the stock and its owners. And would you happen to know it, the stock bottomed out on Monday, September 23rd at $12.15.
Oof.
And in the wake of that, it has only gone up. There's not much more to go over on this other than to continue to acknowledge the fact that the DJT stock is completely fraudulent. The underlying business that it is related to is worthless, and the only real purpose of the stock is to act, as a means to funnel money to Trump outside of campaign finance. Because, who could be committing campaign finance by buying a stock?
Yeah, you know. Yeah.
Apparently, the co-founders have started dumping their assets.
That's not good.
7 million shares.
7 million.
7.5. One of the biggest investors in Trump Media and Technology has sold 7.5 million shares in former President Trump's Truth Social stock. The investor, which owned 7.525 million shares, about 4% of the company. Sorry, what is that? Oh, so they controlled about 4%. Trump apparently holds about 60% of the stock. Yeah.
No wonder the boy
As
is
of the
going
date
to...
of this filing, they now only own 100 shares.
Jesus.
So they liquidated 7,525,000 shares. Basically the entirety of it.
No wonder they're gone to selling watches. Have you seen those Donald Trump watches?
Yes, yeah, you sent them to me.
Yeah, I got a better look at
It's
them. Yeah. If they didn't say Trump on them, they'd be actually kind of nice.
they're incredibly cheap looking to me.
They're tacky. I think they're tacky.
Yes.
The rose gold one, I think, is the only one that appeals to me, but I'm an aesthetic
Yeah.
coward.
They're so gaudy.
At least I know who to mug on the street if I find one of these.
Yeah. That's just too many diamonds. In gold? Ugh.
Is it me, or is like gold just kind of like becoming more tacky nowadays?
Yep. Definitely.
What else do we have, Mr. Clairol?
Okay. Excuse me. Ugh. So, before we get into general media stuff, I want to talk about not the actual lawsuit that Nintendo has filed against Palworld, because, like, here's the TLDR: Nintendo filed a patent lawsuit. Nobody knows what the patent is. Even Palworld doesn't have the details yet. They only know that a lawsuit has been filed. But that hasn't stopped the entirety of the fucking internet from exploding over it with speculation. And I kind of hate it. Just the quality of the journalism being performed is pathetic. And there's no good excuse for it.
No, I agree. I think there's an obvious agenda here, right? Because like it's a very much a wet dream. Because everybody on the fucking internet knows Nintendo loves to sue people. They're very protective of their property. They have every right to be protective of their property.
Yep.
However, internet does not like that at all. So you kind of have the Palworld phenomenon, which everybody pretty much liked it because they're like, we're finally getting back at Nintendo. And then you got the whole preconceived bias against lawsuits from Nintendo in general. And this is just a wet dream for people who need to touch grass.
The thing that really tipped me off to this was a PC Gamer article. Headline: Nintendo's lawsuit against Palworld isn't just bad for the industry, it's bad for Nintendo. The subtitle on it is, can the tension of family-friendly nice guys and we sue everyone and send a disabled person to jail really continue existing in perpetuity? And that kind of like tipped off some alarm bells for me, because we sent a disabled person to jail is very explicit, right?
Yeah, that's a loaded phrase.
Do you want to take a guess who that person is?
Fucking Bowser?
Yes, Gary fucking Bowser.
I thought it was Gary Bowser. Bowser. Yeah, go on.
Like, to try and distill the entirety of that case, which I think any reasonable person at the very least would say Bowser very clearly broke the law in aiding the piracy of Nintendo intellectual property. At the very least, there's fair argument to be had about how he was punished for that and whether the way Nintendo treated him is fair, but there's no question that the guy broke the law. He went to jail for a reason.
Yes.
To distill that down into send a disabled person to jail is wild.
Dude, it makes it sound like they just found somebody and they like framed them for fucking murder.
Yep.
Who wrote that article? I remember we were talking about it beforehand.
Ted Litchfield.
That's right. Teddy boy. Let's see what Ted does. Ted.
Would you believe he's posted 3 articles in the last 24 hours?
He seems terminally online.
I think more than that, and this is part of what I was going to be talking about for the rest of this, is that it's more a symptom of the necessity of the PC gamer websites of the world to just churn as much slop out the door as they can to get as much advertising revenue as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just them. You can look through any of these, news coalitions, and you see the same names coming up again and again and again. There's one in particular who I've literally never heard of before, so I'm not going to mention them. But in the past 48 hours, a single website has published 4 separate stories on the Nintendo Pal World thing. The same website.
You mean the story that hasn't updated at all?
Yes. 3 of them are by the same author.
You see, here's the big problem, right? The news cycle is officially too fucking fast.
I don't know. It's just... I wish that we had this country needs a higher standard of journalists. Because it's just sad. But they know people are angry about it. So they're going to continue to churn out schlop to appease to the angry neckbeards that are sitting on Reddit being all, grr, Nintendo bad.
I think one of the worst things companies have ever done is follow themselves on follow their fan base on social media, because it's just like the fans are stupid, and now companies are fucking stupid because they're listening to the fans too often.
Absolutely. We actually talked about this before the show, I wasn't planning on bringing it up, but we're talking about the recent commander bans in Magic the Gathering.
Yes.
And a comment that the rules committee of the format added into their ban discussion, where they were explaining why they banned what and why they didn't ban what they didn't ban, that falls entirely into that same trap of people who are just need to be less online in the positions that they have, because the average person who plays their game or partakes in their format isn't online in that way, and it gives them such a skewed perspective of what the average person is actually going to care about when they read their message.
Yeah.
So for the bans thing, they had this whole paragraph and a half they put in here about why they didn't ban Sol Ring, because that is a common drum that gets beat on whenever these sorts of ban discussions come up. It's like, oh, you want to ban this fast mana? Well, you got to ban Sol Ring too, because they're both broken. And it's like, yes, in isolation, these are both problems, but they don't exist in isolation. There's decades of context around it that is obvious. And to stoop down to the level of needing to explain the obvious to the people who are already not arguing in bad faith just brings you in on an amount of engagement that is never going to be productive. And it's better to ignore the obvious, basically trolling that happens and focus on the actual arguments. So instead of saying, why haven't we banned Sol Ring, you can say, why haven't we banned Mana Crypt? And you have the very obvious thing, Mana Vault, of Mana Vault doesn't untap itself. It's a much worse card than Mana Crypt, so we're going to leave it for now. But they fell for the trap of the terminally online.
Yeah. What we're trying to say is, everybody, for the love of God, go touch grass.
Please touch grass. Grass is good.
Grass is pretty badass, if I have to say so myself.
I feel you're arguing online about Pal World versus Pokemon. Go to the fucking zoo. See real Pokemon. Animals are cool as shit.
You got me there, because it's so fucking wild what you just said there.
Yeah. Zoos are cool,
Zoos are one of the 5 places on this goddamn earth you can get Dippin' Dots.
Real shit.
Get some goddamn Dippin' Dots. Go see a movie.
I'll say, Yeah, I was gonna say actually, I was gonna talk about like popcorn. I don't know what it is. It's just whatever group that zoos partner with, but zoo popcorn is the shit.
Ooh, is it?
It is because they
Ooh.
use. I know this because I used to work at a zoo doing their food stuff for summer. They use a like powdered salt rather than a liquid. I don't know why, but it just hits better.
So here's my thing, right? This is less about popcorn and more about just going outside.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't think I was going to bring this up. I went to a concert. Uh,
yeah,
it was the Grand Rapids Symphony does Queen.
yeah. Hell yeah.
Most mid concert of my life.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, everybody there did their best. I'm not mad
Yeah,
at anybody in particular.
yeah.
Yeah, when it's something that small, I'm not going to like. It'd be different if it was like fucking Aerosmith or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so glad to have gone to a fucking mid concert and got some good stories out of it. Than
Right.
to sit at home and fucking complain about Nintendo attacking little old Power World.
Mm-hmm.
God damn.
Like even okay. Like let's go to the extreme here. Say
Yeah.
you can't go outside for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Just play a video game. Get off Twitter. Get off Reddit. Just play a video game. Play Pokemon. Play Pal World if you want. Enjoy in the thing that you're posturing about caring about rather than posturing so aggressively about caring about
Read a goddamn book and learn to write.
it. Become the journalists we need. Fuck's sake.
Dude, this is like the worst part about the internet to me, right? Because like I'm reading
Yeah.
books more often nowadays. I'm reading older books, and there is a stark difference between
Yeah.
like word usage, and I think the internet has just fucking polluted my mind into what I'm expecting most people to say.
It's a shame too how like the university circuit has really ruined the accessibility of a lot of books because there's so much stuff that would have been like a $15-20 paperback a few decades ago, but because it's a book for a college class now, it's like $100.
Oh yeah, God forbid the book you want to read is something essential for like a Russian literature course or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fucking reason manga is so cheap. It's because you don't need it to like. It's a very cheap, disposable story in fucking narrative work, and you don't need it for a class.
Yep.
Yeah. The moment your book becomes like something necessary for a class, you're fucked. I got lucky. My work will pay for books for me to read. So that's the only reason I'm getting like into such heavy shit. Let me check something real quick. Okay, you ready for this, Kyril?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're gonna play a little game of this book I'm holding here. It's a more academic book. It's the Red Book, Libre Novis, a Reader's Edition by Carl Gustav Jung. How much do you think this book cost? Keep in mind, this is kind of shit that is academic.
$25.
Wrong. I'm looking at it on Amazon. Keep in mind, my job paid for this book for me. $60 for a physical paperback, not a hardcover. Physical paperback. It's probably the most expensive book I own at the moment.
That's wild.
It's not even a textbook. This thing is a fucking dream diary.
Mm-hmm.
It is Carl Jung just like doing drugs and then writing about his experience on the drugs.
Would you like to talk about some entertainment?
I thought that's what we were just doing. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da-bum.
To the surprise of everyone, they're coming back for season 2 of The Last of Us. No one saw this coming.
No one saw it coming after being, what was it? What did they call it? The best video game adaptation of all time?
Yeah. I don't want to get too far into like The Last of Us 2 spoilers type stuff, I do wonder. There's the obvious question of like where they're going to go with it. You know,
Yeah.
like let's what spoilers for the Last of Us 2 2021, I think it is. But the big thing is that Joel obviously dies very early on, and it's very interesting how they frame the first trailer here, where Joel is only ever shown in what looks like two scenes, but they show those two scenes at multiple different points in the trailer. So it looks like he's in the whole thing, which is like the exact same thing that they did when they did the trailers for the game. And I'm going to be very interested to see, you know, do they just go beat for beat? Do they try and subvert things a little bit? Do they do a bit of like an in-between kind of thing? What's the plan here? It's going to be very interesting to see. But it looks good. Like, because of course it does. The first one was excellent.
It was.
I had my criticisms of it, but it was incredibly well made.
You know, like, it's hard to, like, make a perfect adaptation of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, for what it was a prestige TV show first before it was an adaptation, which I think definitely helped it in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say, I'm going to call it now. My one prediction for it, assuming that it follows the same, you know, broad story beats as the video game sequel did, there is going to be a flashback episode, and it is going to break a lot of people in a good way. But they have a lot of very talented filmmakers and writers and just people in general who worked on this show, and I have a high degree of confidence that if they decide to show that scene from the game, they're going to do an exceptional job with it.
Here's my prediction, right? I think the ending will be changed so that they can get a season 3 out of, you know, The Last of Us, since part 3 has not come.
Absolutely. Yeah. And something that is very notable, or I guess notably absent from the trailer is, and I guess it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't really show it, but in Abby's story, the new, you know, sort of like kind of antagonist character, she meets up with with a child from like a sort of tribal community who lives near where her people are, and that character seems completely absent from the trailer. And it's kind of a major part. So it could be that they're just trying to sort of like obscure what's going to happen, but my full expectation is that we're going to have like the first part, and we'll have a little bit of Ellie going with her entourage into Seattle, and we're not going to get very far in Seattle. Or the alternative is going to be that they show like all of Ellie's story, and then the next one is more they show all of Abby's story, but I don't think they'd go quite that route because it runs into the same problems that the game did, right? Where people obviously don't care about Abby as much because they would have just had 2 seasons with Ellie, and they don't want a season with Abby.
Yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah, whatever it is, it'll be well made.
I'm sure Pedro Pascal might get an Emmy nom from this.
It is. He was already get one from his other project that he had this year.
What was the other project?
We'll get to that later.
Damn.
No, but just one last thing that I wanted to talk about really quick is that the Penguin HBO show, I think it is it HBO?
Yeah, it's HBO.
Yeah, it's on HBO. First 2 episodes are out. I have not seen them yet. They're reviewing overwhelmingly positively, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
It's Batman Sopranos.
Yeah, it's like exactly what people wanted more of from the Batman. And this, I think, it's kind of the same way that, you know, they kind of have to bridge a little bit for The Last of Us before the 3rd game comes out, if it ever does. This feels like a little bit of like, okay, we're taking a little bit before we get Pattinson back in the suits. Just take this, you know, have Colin Farrell being fucking amazing, and just wait. It'll happen. But Pedro Pascal's other role this year is in what is overwhelmingly considered the top release to go see in theaters right now, The Wild Robot.
Oh, I didn't realize he was in that.
Yes, he plays the fox.
That's fun.
Yeah, he apparently does a very good job with that. Apparently, like I was like, oh, he does a good job with it, but like it has a 98% both from critics and viewers. So it's like everybody is doing an amazing job in this.
I saw like the trailers for it when we went to go see Inside Out 2.
Yeah,
And it was one of those experiences where I looked at it and my first value assessment would be that's either really good or that's going to flop real fucking hard.
yeah. That was the very same reaction that I had seeing it, where it's just like, okay, this looks interesting, but what's like the hook to get people in?
Yeah.
And it seems like they're just banking on making an original thing that's just really fucking good and having people want to go and see it. And I hope that that works. I really do.
I think I think it's working.
It's working okay so far, but there's another movie that we have that has more of a hook, and it is not as good, but still reviewing exceptionally higher than what I expected it to, and it is struggling. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So The Wild Robot is a kind of like Castaway, but Tom Hanks is a robot, and Wilson is a baby goose.
I'm listening.
That's kind of it.
Damn, simple.
And the robot, there's like a bunch of animals, and the robot tries to help the animals in the way that it can. It's obviously, I think this is PG for action/peril, and thematic element. Could you okay? Let's take a pause here. How is it that you can give a movie a PG rating for having thematic elements? Why is themes needing parental guidance?
They got to be heavy themes.
I don't know. That is like who is it the ratings board? I can't remember the name of them.
The MCCA?
CARA. Classification is Rating Administration. What the fuck are you guys doing?
Drugs.
Part of the Motion Picture Association. Just like, what the hell? We need like another PG-13 type reckoning where it's just like, okay, our rating systems don't work anymore. How do we make them so that they actually mean something again?
Everything is just a hard R. You want to take your kid to the movies? You better be with them. Those little shits need guidance.
Mm-hmm.
What was the last rated G movie? I'm curious. Watch it be something absolutely insane like Indiana Jones or something.
Oh, yeah. So I remember the last time we tried to look this up, the last G-rated movie that was like of any consequence was literally a documentary.
Wild.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like a particularly interesting documentary. It was something super plain and just boring.
Non-offensive.
Yes.
Apparently Toy Story 4 was considered a G-rated movie.
Makes sense.
Yeah. As in, you're going to regret this movie. That's what the G stood for.
Have you seen the Scott DeWaz rated E for irrelevant t-shirt?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. Where it's just like, okay, you've given it a G rating, I'll ignore it now.
Yeah.
Because I know what that means. So yeah, The Wild Robot, overwhelmingly positive reviews. Seems like a very solid movie to go and see if there's the chance to.
So, quick question. What's the point of rating systems anymore when we have reviews and shit like this?
Yeah. I do think that there's a certain element to it that, in theory, should be helpful because obviously not everybody has the chance to go and do their own research before seeing a movie, particularly as it relates to kids' movies, which is kind of the thing that surprises me the most. Why the G to PG, difference isn't something more substantial, right?
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that falls in more because they have their little descriptor things that are so much more easier to find now that you can just go off of that. But for something like this, there's I wouldn't even say basically, there is nothing in here that should be a problem for any parent with a child looking to see a movie with their child, other than if there's like some sort of special needs considerations, right? It's as safe of a bet as it gets. And the fact that you're going to give it a PG rating just kind of undermines the entire point of having the ratings system.
Yes. I don't get it. I don't fucking get it anymore. This is all dumb. The world's dumb.
Yep.
What else do we have in theaters at the moment?
So the other one that similarly is animated, geared more towards a younger audience, doing far better than I expected, Transformers 1. The animated sort of soft reboot, I guess you could say, of the Transformers franchise. Follows Optimus Prime and Megatron, before they're called Optimus Prime and Megatron, on Cybertron. And it is doing shockingly well. 89% from critics, 98% from audiences.
Do you think Michael Bay's just poisoned the Transformers brand so far that we've all just kind of slept on the idea of a good Transformers movie?
It could be. Well, no, because we had like Bumblebee, right? Which wasn't exceptional, but it was good.
I didn't see Bumblebee.
I haven't yet either. But, just compared to like the Michael Bay movies,
Okay.
it did far better reception, especially compared to the most recent ones.
I'll live with this.
But the other side of this, though, is that Transformers 1, in terms of like box office earnings, for being what is apparently a very good movie, is doing incredibly badly.
Damn.
The number that I heard was that in Transformers' second or third week, whichever week it was not this weekend, but the last, it was being beaten by Beetlejuice.
That's unfortunate. I heard that movie sucks.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess from what I've heard is that Beetlejuice isn't like, it's, it knows what it is and it doesn't try to overstretch that. It's got problems. It's not the worst thing ever, right?
Yeah.
It's just so inoffensive that it's not offensive. But for a new movie that is being, at least review-wise, much better, to get beaten so soundly with the time difference between the releases is just not good. Especially interesting because Transformers 1 doesn't exactly have a cheap cast. Have you seen the cast list for this? It's kind of crazy.
Who's in the cast list? Pedro?
Let me double check. I don't think so, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Pedro is Optimus Prime.
So it's being executive producer Steven Spielberg.
What the fuck? Okay.
Producer Michael Bay.
I'll ignore
that.
But
in terms of the actual casting, we have Chris Hemsworth, Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, Keegan-Michael Key, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Fishburne, and John Hamm.
They really put some fucking money into this one.
None of those people are especially cheap to bring onto your films.
Yeah, one of them's a fucking Avenger.
Yeah. And like Scarlett Johansson's one of the highest paid actors in the industry right now. It's kind of ridiculous.
They probably wanted fucking Robert Downey Jr. in there, but after his Doomsday money came in, he's probably like, nah.
Mm-hmm. I'm good. So Transformers 1 is apparently definitely more, essentially, it was, no, PG, there it is, geared towards more of a younger audiences in more of a way than other stuff might be. But the reviews that I've seen of it have still been overwhelmingly positive. So
I'll live with that.
yeah. Last movie that I have, this is a bit of an unfortunate one, Megalopolis. I've been trying to figure out where I had heard of this because I have seen the name somewhere multiple times before. Maybe it was just discussion about it before it came out or something. Can't place it. It is described as a Roman epic set in an imagined modern America. The city of New Rome must change, causing conflict between Caesar Catalina, played by Adam Driver, an artist who seeks to leap into a utopian, idealistic future, and his opposition, Mayor Franklin Cicero, Giancarlo Esposito, who remains committed to a regressive status quo, perpetuating greed, special interests, and partisan warfare. Torn between them is socialite Julia Cicero, Natalie Emanuel, the mayor's daughter, whose love for Caesar has divided her loyalties, forcing her to discover what she truly believes humanity deserves. And this is doing dog shit right now. Yeah. 49% from critics, 36% from audiences.
Isn't this that movie that Francis Ford Coppola sold wine for several years just to afford to make?
Maybe that's what it was, because this is Coppola. Maybe it was just the fact that Coppola was doing a thing.
I remember there was like apparently some rejected idea where Adam Driver was going to have like a Q&A session with the audience. Like they were like pre-programmed questions, I guess, and people could have just asked them like, I don't know. I just remember reading that on Twitter the other day, and I'm like, how did that? How nothing makes sense.
I will say, just looking at the visual design of this, I won't be surprised if this is something that is like a cult classic in a few years.
It looks like it has everything needed to be a good movie, but it seems like it's all over the fucking place.
Yeah. Another ridiculous cast list. Obviously, Adam Driver, Giancarlo Esposito, Natalie Emanuel. Also, Aubrey Plaza, Shia LaBeouf, John Voight, Jason Schwartzman, Lawrence Fishburne is also in here for some reason.
Life is weird, dude.
Yeah. I just wish I could remember where it was I had specifically heard about it, because I remember the name, and it was just like, that's something that I should probably keep an eye out on, and now it's out. It's not good, apparently. Their critic consensus here on Rotten Tomatoes is more of a creative manifesto than a cogent narrative feature. Coppola's Megalopolis is an overstuffed opus that's equal parts stimulating and slapdash.
Interesting. I want to see them make a movie and make it better.
This is a good review. No idea how accurate this is, but this is well written from Katie Walsh, Tribune News Service. The film alternates between looking like a generic car commercial and an Art Deco sci-fi fantasy. The dialogue is either cartoonishly overwrought or hilariously lowbrow, and the film swings wildly between these various poles at a dizzying pace.
I like the cadence of that.
That's very well written, yeah. Last film I have that's coming out this weekend. It's technically only on streaming services, but something with George Clooney and Brad Pitt called Wolves. It's apparently fine. You can watch it on Apple TV Plus.
Who has Apple TV Plus?
That's a good question. I'm actually probably a lot of people, just not us, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's something that goes against our demographic specifically.
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like Apple's been, besides the iPhone, what the fuck has Apple done lately?
Yeah. There's also the fact, though, for George Clooney and Brad Pitt, where you could realistically kind of just drop the two of them into basically any movie, and they just have such good chemistry. It's not like it's going to suck, you know?
Oh, yeah. I get what you mean.
Yeah. even if it's written badly, shot poorly, has bad action, just, put them in the scene together and it's going to be the 6 out of 10 that it seems like it is. I missed this one before. Something called My Old Ass. It's a Sundance thing, looks like.
Okay.
Never have not heard of this before. Doing a quick skim. It's very highly rated, 91 both critics and audiences. Comedy, drama, coming of age story. Has Aubrey Plaza. Okay.
Okay.
Neat. Yeah, that's all I have for this week's releases. And I kind of went back and skimmed for anything else, and it was really just the Transformers movie that really stood out.
Makes sense.
Unless you want to talk about the weird batches that I've been finding of like World War II movies that literally nobody is watching because they look kind of shitty.
I mean, what can we say about World War II at this point?
Actually, where did the other one go? I can't find it now.
There's a non-zero amount of Nazis in America nowadays.
Yeah.
And some of them get a little offended when you call the Nazis in a World War II movie.
I suppose so.
Bad for
the
business.
weird thing for me is just that it seems like literally nobody is watching these movies. One of them has so few ratings for it that even Rotten Tomatoes isn't displaying them. Sorry, it has so few ratings because if you click into it, the fewer than 50 means one. A single person saw this movie, and the other one literally doesn't have a single review. I couldn't find one on IMDb. I couldn't find anything on Google. Apparently, it streams on Prime and Apple TV, so maybe there's more there, but who fucking knows?
That person who's only seen that movie, like the only person to see it, has the most powerful opinion in the world right now.
It's very strange because you have lots of straight-to-streaming movies that clearly try to present themselves as some popular thing that is out right now. And maybe it's just the fact that, like, actually, I'm curious. Where can you watch Saving Private Ryan if you wanted to stream it?
Probably Paramount.
Paramount Plus. And apparently Amazon as well.
Oh.
Though, I will say, who fucking knows? Because Google, they're like, where you can watch this thing, it seems like it only works about half the time. I do wonder if maybe they're trying to capitalize on people who like have, I don't know, what would it be, HBO or Hulu, and they want to watch Saving Private Ryan and they can't because it's not theirs. So it's like, hey, here's this shit. Watch this instead.
Oh, like Saving Private Ryan at home.
Yeah, but I just can't think about like why are these being made now? It's a weird trend to have these World War II movies coming out in 2024 when there's not some other like actually good World War II movie to have them be talked about. Like, what was the last successful war movie? Last one that I saw was Sisu, but that was like that's like Finnish front. It's barely even World War II.
Yeah.
1917, that was really good, but that's World War One.
It's not Emmy season yet, so we still have time.
Yeah, all
World War II movies.
All Quiet on the Western Front is also World War One. That's the thing that's kind of weird. It's like if they're doing World War One stuff, okay, sure, I buy that. But it's all World War II still. And I guess maybe that's just from a cost perspective, right? Yeah, we can't get World War One stuff. That's too old. But there's this World War II stuff just sitting around everywhere. Best that I can figure. Yeah, I think. Let me double check this. I think this one is the last one that I could remember, where you have to go back to 2017 for Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan, where that was the last, like, explicitly, this is a World War II war movie, and it did well. strange trend. It is kind of interesting. I kind of hate how useless Rotten Tomatoes has ended up being at times because there's just so much shit that gets put onto it. But it is interesting to see trends pop up like that every once in a while.
Anything else for the agenda today, Mr. Cairo?
That is what I have. Unless you'd like to talk about where the hell did it go? Oh, I just saw it. A very flattened Christmas. It's got 100% audience
it's not even
reviews.
Halloween yet, you silly Billy.
I have to imagine that this has been spoofed because this is like a no-name budget comedy streaming only kind of thing, and it has all 5-star reviews except for one that's like 3.5.
What you say, I hear, but when I hear a flattened Christmas, I don't know why. I'm just thinking of like Doctor Who season like 8, the Peter Capaldi season, where they have those flat fucks that are like eating people through the walls.
Yeah, not quite the same.
Damn.
This is something to do with a roadkill company, so I assume that people are being squished, like as in roadkill.
Fair.
Yeah.
Regardless,
we
have a
got
movie
Joker
tonight.
next week. We
Oh.
got Joker coming up.
We
It'll be
do.
interesting next week, couple weeks. See how that goes. But yeah, movie night.
Movie night. I've got nothing else to say. That we're going to watch Glass Onion tonight. It's gonna be great. Gonna make $1 billion when we make our review. Watch it happen.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I've been Mr. Ryan, and I've been Schmo.
I'm Cairo, and I've been a Schmo.
And I'll be seeing you in a few hours, Cairo.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, everybody.